Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, February 2nd, and today I want to make a quick video on when it's time to relax, when you can take your foot off the gas. Now, throughout my 20s, there was times where I worked one, two, or sometimes even three different jobs in a week. And when I was working all these different types of jobs, I noticed that there were certain patterns and things to look out for when it just simply wasn't worth it to continue working. I've noticed four main patterns, so let's dive into it. Number one, when the side job inhibits your main job. Now, this typically looks like when you're working a side job that's very physically demanding or mentally stressful, sometimes both. This can inhibit your ability to recover. So, this is quite risky, especially if you have a hard to get primary job, just because if you're always burning the midnight oil and pushing yourself hard, um, you run the risk of burning out, and that's going to influence your performance of that main job, right? So, I mean, we got into the second job in the first place to make extra money, but if you risk burning out from that second job, then you risk jeopardizing that main income and you're going to be left with a significantly lower overall income, right? So if you find yourself really burning out, just be careful. It's a warning sign. Number two, when the nuisance is greater than the money. Now, this is when the hassle of doing that second job outweighs the total pay. This can happen for a few reasons. I've seen two. The first being, say, if you're working in a more labor intensive job, sometimes your hours just get cut. So, for example, maybe you're working 5 hours Friday night at a warehouse and then 10 hours on a Saturday, and say you make 20 bucks an hour. So you're making an extra $300 a week. Now, let's say your hours go down to just 5 hours on Saturday and the Friday shift is cut, but you're still making $20. Now you're relying on $300 extra a week. Now you're down to 100, and you still have to travel to and from. And you might say, hey, you still have an extra 3 hours of free time on Saturday, but maybe you were counting on the income, and you still have that same commute time, so it's not always worth it. So if that happens to you, then just be careful. The second time I see this happen is more in tip based or performance based jobs. So this could be anything from being a bartender to a server. This could be selling, cell phones in a kiosk. But when the economy is good, people are buying stuff and they're tipping well. But when the economy goes down, people are less likely to go out. People are more satisfied with their same cell phone. And when they do go out, they're a lot more conscious of that spending. Now, it could be perhaps, if people are tipping you less, that maybe your service has gone down and you're not as friendly as you thought you were. But more than likely, it's that, people just don't tip as much, right? So, if they were tipping 20% before, now they're tipping 10%, or maybe sometimes even zero. That happens, right? So, you can't really control that. So, if you're relying on a certain level of income for those set hours, or, with tips and hourly to combined, and you're not hitting those targets, then maybe it's time to reevaluate. Point number three, sometimes the cash just isn't necessary. So, maybe you've been doing your second job for a while. You paid off your debt. You've, hit your savings goals. Saved up the money to go traveling or whatever your goal is. You've hit it and you've exceeded it. And then now you're kind of you have this thought, like, okay, I've done this. Now what? And that's actually a really good position to be in. So, first off, be proud of yourself. But then after that, sometimes it's worth it to say, okay, maybe the money side of my life has been taken care of. What else do I have to work on? So that could be health, that could be going out with friends, that could be dating. There's a lot more aspects to life. Maybe it's religious. So just go out there and enjoy it. You've earned it and you've worked hard. So yeah, life isn't always about working. Now, point four, my final point for today, is sometimes your main job's income can increase substantially. So let's use an example. Say you work a job, a main job, and you're making about 50,000 a year, and you're working a side job, and you make roughly $1,000 a month. So over the course of a year, that side job is going to be worth approximately 20% of your total income, right? 50,000 from your main job and say 10,000 from that side job, roughly, give or take. Now, when you're making an extra 20% income, sometimes that extra 10 grand can go so far. That can be the difference between paying your bills on time and not, to actually be able to go out on dates and not. and just having some semblance of enjoying your life. Okay, so I totally get it. But now, say you've been underpaid for quite a while, you go out there and you get a new job in your same industry, and now you're making 100,000. But your side job, hasn't increased at all. You're still making that same salary. This is a time where you can really reconsider because now you're making 5x more what your side job would be paying you. So unless your time value of money is still worth it to go to that side job and make that same wage, consider ending it, right? Because at least from the market's economy's perspective, they're saying, okay, you're worth now 100 grand. So maybe there's something else you can be doing at the job when you're making 100 grand to make 120 or 150, or maybe you don't need extra money. You just want to, go and chill out after your work day. That's totally fine. Um, so if unless there's no other reason to make that extra side income, consider ending it. So yeah, this is just a few things I've learned throughout my 20s about working side jobs and when sometimes it's worth it to throw in the towel and try new things. And I will see you soon. Thank you. Bye.